My name is Austin Black, and I was raised in the city of Detroit until I was 10 years old. Grew up in the suburbs, went to high school in Birmingham, went on to Cornell University to major in urban planning. One of the things that I like about the city of Detroit, and I'm forever grateful for, is the opportunities that the city has given me. As a young child, my curiosity in urban planning, architecture, and the people of the city were developed through my experiences living in the city of Detroit as a young child. And when I made the decision to return to Detroit, initially I was gravitated towards New York City, Washington, D.C. I lived in D.C., also lived in Italy. I saw what was happening in the city of Detroit, and I saw that there was opportunities for me in the city of Detroit. And I wanted to give back to the city that has given so much to me, its people, its culture, its history. I started City Living Detroit in 2003, initially as a nonprofit organization to promote living in the city of Detroit. This organization, I saw a lot of things happening in the city of Detroit, but as the perception of the city and the people, the other outsiders had of the city, I wanted to start transforming that perception in the city of Detroit. So myself and four other young professionals came together to start this organization. We initially approached General Motors to be a sponsor of our first event, which was a housing fair to promote the city. And then through the time that it naturally evolved to me selling real estate in the city of Detroit, which I've been doing so for almost 6 years. And one of my slogans has always been redefining urban living. We see Detroit in the media. A lot of us have a certain perception of Detroit. As these photos suggest, there's another side of Detroit, another side of Detroit that many of us do not see and many of us do not appreciate. And City Living Detroit's goal was to showcase the opposite of what we naturally see and think about the city of Detroit. And so last year, I made the decision to leave a real estate company to venture off on my own. And City Living Detroit was dissolved as a nonprofit and made into a for-profit commercial and residential real estate brokerage. And it was a very risky move given the economy at the time and still exists with the housing market, some of the challenges with the foreclosures. But I thought that it was my way of giving back to the city of Detroit, because one way that the city can and will come back is if we have more investment inside the city. And it's more than just big, large-scale projects such as stadiums, large corporations moving down. We need more people living in the city of Detroit. And that ranges very different economic backgrounds, social backgrounds, and racial backgrounds. If we all work together, we can bring back the city of Detroit. Over the years, I've sold anywhere from $18,000 homes in the city of Detroit all the way to $500,000 homes in the city of Detroit. There's people, no matter what economic scale that they're in, they see the opportunities, they see the changes in the city of Detroit and want to invest in that. My career has evolved very much so, and I will be forever thankful for organizations like Model D, like Cranes Communications, and some of the corporate leaders we have in the city that see this young generation as a generation that really changes the city. And instead of separating themselves from this generation, they're willing to help us. And I think we always need to look back at those who have helped us throughout our past and to move forward together. In the last year, it's actually been some of my best months in real estate. Despite the market, there's a change in perception that people want to invest in the city. And the change in the perception and the people that are investing are not necessarily those you may automatically think of. Many of my clients are people that are moving from Birmingham, Ann Arbor, New York City, Washington, D.C., and they're not only coming here, they're coming here to make a difference in the city. And despite what's going on economically, they're willing to invest significant dollars into making a home in the city of Detroit. One of the things that I do with my business is really focus on social media. Not having a huge marketing budget, I look at other ways to promote living in the city, promote the opportunities. So via Facebook, a blog, I have a blog called the Urban Living Update. And it's all about my experiences, my friends' experiences, my clients' experiences in the city. The other thing is we have a perception that those who are revitalizing the cities across America are just young professionals. In Detroit, I would say that is not true. We have people who have lived in the city for a long time, who have loved the city, who have sacrificed a lot for the city. We need to bring them into what's been happening in the city. But also, we have families, You don't think of people choosing to come to the city to raise a family. And I saw this change about 2 years ago, and I wanted to do something about it. And I created a site called RaisingCityKids.com as a way to connect these families, connect them to get them to stay in the city. Many of the first families that have come back to the city are people who adopted the city as young professionals. And instead of running to the suburbs when they have families, they're looking to stay in the city. And that's one opportunity to not only recreate the city, but revitalize the city, but also connect these individuals to get them to stay. The other thing that I noticed in the last year or so, many of my clients are over 50. We talk about young professionals, we're building products for young professionals, but there also are empty nesters that want to come back to the city. They live in 4,000 square foot homes in the suburbs. They want something different. They want to move to the city. And one of the great things about urban areas is the fact that you can bring many cultures together and they interact. They're not separate. And I think people see that opportunity that exists in Detroit. I know in my circle, growing up in a suburb that was not diverse at all versus where I am today, Detroit has been one of my most diverse experiences in life because there's so many different people. You don't see that in the census data, you don't see that in the media, but there's an opportunity to really recreate the city and remake it a better city. I'm involved with the Detroit Works Project, and that's a big challenge because we're bringing together people that don't ordinarily interact with each other. But also the challenge is, how do you recreate a city when you have people that lived here a very long time that may not want to move? How do you tell people that, and if you have to relocate, if you have to look at your city differently, how do you communicate that to them? And that's very important. So City Living Detroit is not just a real estate company. I look at it as a community development company at the same time because I have to give back to the city. The people I work with have to give back to the city in order to see a return. And what I would have to say is, and over the last year, I've never been more optimistic about the city's future. We're at a point in time where everything is aligning perfectly. We have a governor that has openly expressed that he will and wants to be a friend of the city. We have a mayor who's looking at how to restructure the city in a different way. We can't always focus on what has happened in the past. We need to focus on the future. There's going to have to be significant changes made to really redevelop this city. And we have corporate partners. We have corporate partners who have moved back to the city from the suburbs. It doesn't necessarily make financial sense, but it's the right thing to do. And I would urge all of you to seek the opportunities that exist in Detroit and really find your way, because there's people that are willing to help you, there's people willing to work with you, and that's what makes Detroit a great place to live. Thank you.